Okay, comrades, you're all called to order for the opening ceremonies. Comrades, attention. All members and guests who are veterans will give a hand salute, and all others place your right hand over your heart. Please join me in this, this Pledge of Allegiance. Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2. Comrades, we will now be led in prayer by Reverend Hoffman online.
To those who would like to join us, let us pray. The psalmist declared, "This is the day that the Lord has made, so let us rejoice and be glad in it." Almighty God, accept our thanks for this day that you have provided us with, and with all of its intended blessings. We pray that you would guide us and direct us in our chapter meeting, its officers, and its actions. Grant that each of us may feel our responsibility to fulfill the promises made to service-connected disabled veterans and their families. May you bless our meeting today and grant us wisdom for the decisions to be made. To this end we pray. Amen.
Amen. Good morning, everybody. As a reminder, we are here to address only matters specific to our organization. All discussions must be relevant to our mission statement, which I will now read. We are dedicated to a single purpose, empowering veterans to lead high-quality lives with respect and dignity. We accomplish this by ensuring the veterans and their families can access the full range of benefits available to them, fighting for the interests of America's injured heroes on Capitol Hill, and educating the public about the great sacrifices and needs of veterans transitioning back to civilian life. This mission is carried forward by providing free professional assistance to veterans and their families in obtaining benefits and services earned through military service and provided by the Department of Veteran Affairs and other agencies of government, providing outreach concerning its program services to the American people generally and to disabled veterans and their families specifically, representing the interests of disabled veterans, their families, their widowed spouses, and their orphans before Congress, the White House, and the judicial branch, as well as state and local government. Extending DAV's mission of hope into the communities where these veterans and their families live through a network of state-level departments and local chapters. Providing a structure through which disabled veterans can express their compassion for their fellow veterans through a variety of volunteer programs. I now declare this meeting open for the transaction of such business as may rightfully come before it. Shane. Comrade Adjutant, will you call the roll of officers once you figure out what you're got going?
Yeah, yes, I will. I'm trying to write notes with a pen that's not working.
Here's one that does.
So we're getting there. We're off to a bang of a start this morning, everyone. Wow, they just all start showing up out of nowhere. I should do that more often. Hey, my pen's not working. Anyone?
Well, I didn't give you the good one.
All right, give me just a second. I'm having some IT difficulties, but it's all right. We're going to make it work. Oops. There we go. Roll call of officers. Commander Tom Wendell is excused. Senior Vice Commander Tanya Colbert.
Present.
First Junior Vice Commander Shamla Capizzi.
Here.
Second Junior Vice Commander Anna Lutz.
Here.
Treasurer Kathleen Schultz.
Here.
Immediate past commander since the beginning of time, Erwin Schultz.
Still here.
Department Executive Committee member Tom Wendell is excused. Alternate DEC Shane Lehrman present. Officer of the day Jim Landers. All right. Anders. I added a letter. Jim Anders. You didn't read it, so we're okay. All right. Sergeant at Arms Joe LaHaye. Judge Advocate Erwin Schultz.
Still here.
PPTL Jesse Bendahan is excused. Adjutant Shane Lehrman is present, and I think that's all. Yeah. We have a quorum, Comrade Senior Vice Commander.
Excellent. So let's also introduce all of those present at today's meeting. We can start with online. Your list of online that you.
Oh, you want to hand me that list, Joe? Yes, those who've joined us online, if I've missed you, please let me know. We have Betty Bland, Bob Whaley, Chris Arrington, David Myers, Denise, John Hoffman, Matthew John, and Robin T. If I missed you and you're online, please speak up. Let us know who you are.
Okay. And then I would like to go around the room since we're having more people. No, not anymore.
This is Neil Hayhurst. I'm online too. I had the mute on. Sorry.
Oh, hey, Neil. Glad you were able to join us this morning. How you doing?
Every day's a holiday.
Thank you, sir. And those who are in the room this morning that have signed in for the meeting, we have Joe LaHaye, Jerry Kristen, Gary Salpini, Tanya Colpert, Sean Ware, Will King, Shane Lehrman, Jim Anders, G.A. Redding, Kathy Schultz, Erwin Schultz, Bob Snyder, Shamla Capizzi, Anna Lutz, and Claddy Cunningham. All right, want to make sure I got that correct. Did I capture everyone in the room? Outstanding. Those are all the guests present in the room and those online. And as a reminder to those online, you cannot vote in any of the votes per our national constitution and bylaws, but you can make comments and be part of the conversation. Yeah, I know. Everything's funky today, but it works. I'm not complaining.
All right. Comrade Adjutant, will you read the minutes of the last meeting?
I sure will. The minutes of the last meeting were posted on our YouTube channel and our website, and a copy was sent via email earlier this morning around 8 a.m. with the video. So I move that we accept the minutes from the last meeting as posted unless there is any clear errors.
Immediate past seconds.
No
I
discussion.
had to remember who I was there for a second.
Because it's a new position?
I've had the position
You can
so
say
long,
yeah.
I've developed dementia.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Eyes are above the nose.
Hey.
So we're back. Motion passes.
You get that better than Tom does.
Everybody does.
I can't do it without an eye roll, though. All right.
Somebody doesn't have it.
Okay. All right. We'll now hear from Comrade Kathleen Schultz for the treasurer's report.
Take Shane's spot this time. Okay. I sent him the wrong report. That's why you don't see these.
Sorry.
This is the monthly report for February 1st, 28th, 2022. Our beginning balance was $12,055.50. We had no income. Our disbursements were check 4789 to 10 Culbert for the fall conference room and mileage. It's still outstanding. Check 4795 to Tom Wendell for the DEC meeting for Article 16 hearings for $398.40. Check number 4796 to the Fort Knox Self-Storage for storage unit 671 annually. $1,378.35. We have another outstanding check, $47.97, to the Chapter 20 Virginia Beach chapter for the Spring Conference Hospitality Room donation, $200. Check $47.98 to Tom Wendell for gift cards to the veterans for Christmas. They were Priscilla Woyak, Gregory Morris, and Monique Alston. The total was $767.85. Those checks totaled $3,428.20, leaving us with an ending balance of $8,627.30. And that does match the balanced statement, second page, taking off those two checks. The two match perfectly. And our ledger also shows the same amount. I make a motion that we accept this report as read, subject to audit.
Second.
Anna Watts seconds the motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Kathleen? Okay.
Communications.
We need to do sickness and stress.
Oh, yeah, we should do that first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we don't currently have a chaplain, but I know Reverend Hoffman is still in contact with our membership. Reverend Hoffman, do you have any news on sickness or distress?
Only myself. I had an MRI done Thursday night. I've had excruciating pain on the left side of my lower back. And I have a meeting with the surgeon, orthopedic surgeon, Wednesday afternoon to get the report. But it appears that in as much as I had a lumbar laminectomy, i.e. they took out L3, L4, and S1 on my right side, it appears that I have a similar problem on the left. So we'll get that clarified on Wednesday, hopefully. I'm hoping and praying that it's not going to result in surgery again. So just keep me in prayer. I appreciate it very much.
Absolutely, sir.
That concludes my report.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
I would like to make an addition. DAV, former National Executive Director of our Washington, D.C. headquarters, 30 years with DAV as a National Service Officer. Gary Augustine passed away in this last week. Gary served in Vietnam, combat wounded veteran. Somebody in the room actually was the reason he got a medevac called in to save his life. Thank you, Gary. And services were held yesterday. Visitations. Today is his funeral. Yeah.
He's interned later at Arlington.
He will be interred at Arlington National Cemetery at a later date. For those of you who may not be aware of Gary was big in DAV and very instrumental in a lot of the legislation and activities within the service department that happened probably in the last 10 years. To include, he was a big part of the Mission Act when all of that was going through, the Choice Act, a lot of other pieces of legislation. Gary retired from DAV about 3 years ago, and this was a very quick and sudden. He went to the hospital because he wasn't feeling well. They found cancer, and unfortunately, in less than 2 weeks, he was gone. So please keep his family in your thought and prayers, his wife and his 2 children, and his first grandchild were all at the visitations yesterday. So it was a good event and well attended. There was a lot of good thoughts. I went yesterday between 3 and 5. And what really impressed me the most, not only the impact he had, they had pictures of him with several presidents, several secretaries, and what Gary did for veterans during his time on our executive staff in Washington, D.C. But I think one of the more moving things I witnessed yesterday is the sitting Secretary of Veterans Affairs, who, as far as I'm aware of, did not know Gary, showed up yesterday with a contingency from the VA to express their condolences to DAV in such a huge loss. That I was very impressed to see. And even more impressed when he thought nobody was watching, he took his VA secretary coin out of his pocket and laid it up next to the other coins that were there at Gary's funeral. So
Gary was one of those people that once, he was always on your side. He's definitely going to be missed.
absolutely, he was instrumental in my career. He's the reason I came to DC and went to the appeals office in 2011. He's the reason I was instrumental in me getting promoted to service staff and then to legislative staff. So he was very instrumental.
Being hired, me coming out here. Once he decided he was going to help guide your career, he really took an active interest in it. I still have 2 very nice emails from him.
Gary also holds another distinction. He was a part of the management team of the Cleveland DAV office with John Mackey, our former adjutant, who we lost 6 years ago now. Those two were the management team together in Cleveland for several years. So I can about imagine what it was like to work in that office with those two. So I have nothing further to report. Just keep Gary's family in your thoughts and prayers.
Thank you to both Reverend Hoffman. Our prayers for you to have a quick recovery and some pain relief, and hopefully without surgery. And then to all the friends and family of the Augustines that in your grief. Thank you. All right, Comrade Adjutant, will you read the communications, please?
I would love to read the communications. However, I decided to leave them in my car this morning. So they're just sitting right outside. But I'll give you an idea of what it is. One is a letter from a veteran from Chapter 58, which is Gloucester, Virginia, asking me what I can. It was basically addressed to Chapter 10, but he wants the note given to me, wants to know what I can do to fix the problem with being buried in America. So I'll be working on that. He was complaining about the prices of burials, funeral homes, and that. Not quite sure what he wanted, but it was addressed to me, so I'll be reaching out to him in my formal capacity later this week. And the second thing is, we got a big giant box full of stuff dumped my car. Since we're going to get to this in a little bit. But Chapter 10 is a gold sponsor. Thank you to everybody in here who's made that possible for the Winter Sports Clinic. And it's happening this year. Didn't happen the last 2 years. We got a big box of stuff yesterday, and it's full of shirts, hats, caps, scarves, all sorts of stuff for the Winter Sports Clinic. It's got the National Winter Sports Clinic emblem, and it says gold sponsor underneath. So I will go through and make sure we keep one of those each for our commander, Mr. Wendell, because I believe he will be attending later this month, and we'll get into that in a minute. But those are the 2 big items that we had received in the last few weeks. Thank you.
Did you receive anything from the state? We'll come back to it. Okay, I'll grab it in new business. Okay. Oops, we did that wrong. Okay. Membership committee. Okay, so for about the last 18 months, they worked on their new membership portal, and that is now actually up and running and functional. So I highly recommend that people go and log on. It becomes a kind of a single source site for all of your membership information and your history. It also is an access point to different benefits and stuff that you are able to receive. It also allows us as a membership team or leadership team to look at what our current membership is for our chapter and what our considered hot list is, so we can do reach out. And so I foresee a lot of activities to work through utilizing that resource in this next year. And
We'll be mentioning the hot list here in a few minutes.
okay. And that's all I have for membership right now. Women's veterans, Shamla?
Oh, actually, Barnes, she's communication with DAV. She passed, happy Women History Month for you women that are out there and women veterans. So thank you for paving the way for us younger generation.
Shamla, do you mind coming up here so the microphone can pick you up? I know you're a Marine and you generally do not need a microphone, but we just want to make sure the recording comes through.
I was closing my eyes when it was going like this to like, and I was like, no, I don't want to come up there. So,
Start from scratch.
okay. Well, happy Women History Month to you women, and to thank you for the veteran women for paving the way for me and Tanya to be where we're at today. Ashley Barnes, she's also a Marine woman veteran. She passed along an event. It's a VA Women's Veteran Q&A. It's on live. I can give it to Shane. It's on March 23rd, 2020. It's
2022.
Oh, I'm sorry. Where are we at?
2022.
Oh, I'm sorry. March 2022. It's been a long 2 years. So. Q&A focus on women veterans. It's going to discuss women health and benefit services. It's a live panel. So it's Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022. It's from 1 to 2, and I'll pass it.
Yeah, we'll get it to Shane when it goes
Okay.
out in
Cool.
bit
All right.
minutes afterwards.
Thank you. Where's the camera? Thank you.
So that's timing.
Yeah, that was fun. We didn't
That's
have,
timing right there.
so we don't currently have any service officers, correct?
Well, we have several national service officers and national appeals officers in the room and online. Matthew John is currently the assistant supervisor at the National Appeals Office. Wow, you think I'd get it right. Matt, do you have any updates, any new information to share with everyone?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? There's no real new updates to provide currently from the board. We sat in a couple meetings and they're just letting us know more so of numbers that they're at as far as trying to take care of backlogs. Currently, the main focus for all of the hearings that they're holding are all legacy cases. So anyone who's opt-in and under the AMA, the new program since 2019, February 19, 2019, they're currently waiting to have those scheduled unless they are advanced on the docket. So the majority of the cases, if you run into anybody or a friend and they have AMA case, just let them know. If it's not an AOD case, the board's currently not working those. They're working all legacy to get the backlog done. Once they're caught up, all the new judges that they currently have in training are going to be all trained on AMA so that they can hit the ground running once they make the pivot to more AMA cases versus the legacy.
Outstanding. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate the update from the National Appeals Office at the Board of Veterans Appeals. In reference to some other issues that are still ongoing, I believe it was in February, the VA through the Federal Register released proposed rule changes to different systems of the body for the VA rating schedule. One of those is mental health disorders. They're looking at readjusting the way they look at ratings. Now, we've been meeting with several of the other VSOs throughout Washington, D.C. and the national organizations. We all believe that it appears this is beneficial to veterans as they could potentially be rated higher. However, we still have some questions with some of the definitions that they're putting in the system. We're still meeting with the other VSOs. We will be providing formal comments as the national organization through the Federal Register, as well as the other ones. Federal formal comments are due by April 18th. I will do a after action on this and put some links in there so you can go on there and look yourself and even provide comments. They're also proposing rating schedule changes to sleep apnea and to tinnitus. Tinnitus is the ringing in your ears. They're proposing to change that to essentially not have it be its own diagnostic code. They're proposing to make it part of hearing loss and not an automatic 10% disability. So that's what the proposed changes. Again, we've been discussing this with the VSO community, looking at ways to make arguments for them not to make the change. In reference to sleep apnea, currently, if you need a CPAP machine or a BiPAP machine and your service connected for sleep apnea, that's a 50% rating. They're proposing to change that to a 10% rating. So we are, again, talking with the VSO community, trying to find comments, arguments, and statements that we can submit into the formal process prior to April 18th. Once those are all made formal, we can let everybody know more about the comments. But right now they've received, last I looked, over 5,000 comments so far. And that's not even including the major VSOs. Normally, they will get maybe 20 to 30 comments on a Federal Register. VA announced they received more comments on these two Federal Register pieces than they have in the last 5 years combined. So the reason that it is so much more aware, VA decided to send an email to every veteran they have an email address on to let them know they were doing this. Now, I don't think that's a bad thing. They're trying to create transparency to make sure everybody's aware of what's going on. But then it also does lead to problems. My email and phone have blown up because unfortunately everybody believes this is VA's way of honestly telling you we're going to take your benefits and everything you have is going next month. Obviously, that's not true. There is a process in place. I will put links to all of that. So if everybody wants to make their own comments, please feel free to do. Now, this is just proposed changes. That means they got to read all of the formal changes before they make a final rule. That can be anywhere from 6 months from now to 5 years from now. Some proposed regulations and changes that we've commented on in the last 6 years, some are just now actually becoming final rules. So it doesn't move as quickly as everybody thinks. So just because it's a proposed rule doesn't mean it's going into effect in the next 30 or 60 days. We're probably looking easily 6 months to a year before we see any of that go into effect. If it goes into effect as is, again, with all the comments, everybody has an opportunity to voice their opinion on why it should not be changed.
Okay, and then I have one thing to add here. So due to COVID and so forth, all the chapter service officers training and stuff had expired. So if there is anybody that is interested in becoming a chapter service officer and gain that training, the next training is going to be provided during the state convention in Roanoke in June. And so if you're interested in doing that training and becoming a chapter service officer, let one of us on the line know and we'll get you hooked up with that information. And then the second thing is I thought we had a slide on this, so I delayed, but I should have done this earlier. So I apologize, gentlemen. But we have two guests with us today. First, we have our second junior vice commander for the state, Will King. And then our State Department Employment Committee Chairman, Sean Ware. And since we don't have an employment committee, would you like to kind of share what is going on with the state with your committee?
You get my seat.
Fine. Put me on the spot the first time.
Well, the good thing is it's warm.
You're so kind.
Where's the?
So there's no video, so
Oh,
just
no
get
video?
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Oh,
Just
good.
the microphone.
Oh, great. Good morning, everyone. For those who haven't had the pleasure or opportunity to meet, I am Sean Ware from Chapter 7, currently serving as the Department Employment Committee Chair. And I'll take a few minutes just to tell you a little bit about what I've been trying to do over the past 8-9 months now, I believe it is. The first thing I learned today is that most of the things that Shane needed are in his car. But all jokes aside, so what I've been trying to do over the course of the last 8 or 9 months is just promote the program, get more traction, more visibility for the program itself, not only at the department level, but also at the chapter levels. So as Tanya, still got Tanya and Tanya.
That's good. They call me both.
Yep, as Tanya mentioned, you guys here in Chapter 10 do not have an employment representative. So I am within the committee. We've assigned each committee person a list of chapters. So I am actually your point of contact on the department for anything you need assistance with. With that being said, if there's anyone who wants to serve on the employment committee at the department or in your chapter, please contact me and I will help you get things up and running. A little bit about the program. We do have a tab on the department website. It's, it's a tab, but we have a web page on the department website. We also have an email address, and we also just launched our Facebook page, or relaunched the Facebook page for the employment committee. And I will share all the information with you all. I actually have sheets on the table. I will pass out some list of resources. That's about it. So just a little bit about the job market for those who haven't kept up with it. So in April of 2020, we kind of peaked with unemployment. And looking back over the course of the last 2 years, surprisingly, we are actually back just about at pre-pandemic levels for unemployment. So we're hovering around 3-point-something% within the state and within the veteran community. So that's a good thing. People are getting back to work. The numbers are a little misleading because there's a lot of turnover. People are actually job hopping because there are so many opportunities out there currently. So people are leaving jobs for a better job, pays more money, more flexibility, more incentives. So right now, if you're a job seeker, it's a buyer's market. You can kind of pick and choose where you want to work, move around. As the market tightens up, then opportunities will become less and competition will get stiffer. So if anyone out here is looking, or if you know anyone looking, please pass that along. Anyone need assistance finding employment, please reach out to us at the committee, and we will do our best to coordinate with the Virginia Employment Commission and get you guys moving in the right direction. All right, won't take up too much time. We did do a committee brief at Fall Spring Conference. That should be posted sometime soon. And if you need anything, just reach out to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Sean. Just to finish up, along with some of the employment issues, the Department of Labor announced for February there was a drop in veteran unemployment from 3.5 to 3.1% overall. It's still lower than the civilian population for the unemployment rate. However, women veterans still have a higher unemployment rate than veterans as a whole. I believe it's still around 5%. And with that being said, we're doing something else, right? Is there another report? Yeah, it's right up there. It's the BPTL legislative thing. I can't see it on my laptop, so I got to keep looking back there. We're having a morning. So Jesse Bendenhen, our BPTL, is not here. Tom Wendell is not here, but I want to make sure everybody knows that Tom Wendell is also the BPTL for the Department of Virginia, and Tom won for like the 5th year in a row the National Outstanding Performance and Advocacy for his role as a BPTL for the Department of Virginia. Tom's not here for us to embarrass him, but we can give Tom a nice round of applause. Yeah, I have a picture. I forgot to put it on the slideshow.
At 6 this morning.
It's been a morning. And I just want to go over a few national issues real quick outside of the BPTL. For those of you who don't know, I am the Deputy Legislative Director for DAV in Washington, D.C. And there's just a few things coming up that are really big items in the veterans community. On the 23rd, which is its upcoming Wednesday, there is going to be a hearing in the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee, I believe at 3 p.m. DAV will be testifying, and it's on caregivers. Most importantly, it's about the appeals process for caregivers. There's an issue going on. A year or so ago, there was a precedent decision by the Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims called Baudet. Essentially what that means is VA has been denying veterans the right to appeal their caregiver denials. So they're now opening that up. There's potentially over 400,000 potential appeals. So VA, or the Health Administration, VHA, has decided they're going to try to figure out how to run an appeals program. I know, right? It is laughable because most of them don't even understand the process. What we're going to be testifying DAV at the hearing on Wednesday, DAV's National Service Director, Jim Marslak, will be testifying on why they need to give all of the responsibilities for appeals to the caregiver program to VBA, the Veterans Benefit Administration, because caregivers is a benefit program. VBA and the Board of Veterans Appeals already know how to handle appeals. So why let VHA fumble around and make it worse when they can just let VBA handle the entire appeals process? That hearing is on Wednesday at 3 p.m. And then on March 29th, I know we talked about this at the last meeting, honoring our PACT Act. It's a toxic exposure bill that passed in the House on March 3rd. It covers exposures, it covers healthcare for veterans exposed to burn pits and other toxins. It includes a new framework for deciding presumptive diseases in the future. It includes hypertension as a presumptive disease for Agent Orange. It will add new radiation risk activities for veterans who participated in cleanup at various locations. And it will concede Agent Orange exposure to new countries. The entire country, let me rephrase that, all military installations in Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Guam, American Samoa, and Johnston Atoll. So this is a very large bill that is going to impact so many veterans. It'll also add 23 diseases for burn pit exposure. So yes, this is pretty massive. That the House passed it, we didn't believe the Senate was going to do anything with it. Well, we just found out the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee is having a hearing on it on the 29th. And DAV will be testifying at that hearing, and it will be me. So if you have any words of wisdom on why they should pass the law, keep it to yourself. No, this is going to be a big hearing. It's going to be, we're working behind the scenes right now with the other VSOs in DC. We're setting up meetings with every member of the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee, as well as every member of the Senate, because we want this to pass the Senate, but they need a vote of 60 to pass. Right now, internal counting, we're probably around 52. So we're working on trying to find a way to get to 60 so that after the hearing, it could potentially go to the floor in the Senate for a vote. Not saying that's going to happen, but we're preparing for that and trying to get as many senators on board as we want. Now, this is going to be a massive bill, as we talked about before. CBO is estimating the cost at around $250 billion over 10 years. But I think everybody in this room would also agree that's a cost of going to war.
Question for you, Shane. Is this going to be one of those big bills?
The bill passed the House without any offsets or pay-fors. I know, right? So it passed the House without them paying for this legislation by taking away other benefits. The Senate, I don't know if we're going to be that lucky, but again, that's why we're working behind the scenes, why we're excited about this opportunity on the 29th, because I think we have a chance. And there's some other issues going on. I'm not sure if everybody has read about the electronic healthcare record modernization. VA has already paid billions of dollars to a corporation called Cerner to install and implement a brand new program of maintaining electronic healthcare records from the time you're a veteran or on active duty all the way through the time you're a veteran. Streamless process of a whole new program. Unfortunately, a year ago, they were running into problems in Washington State when they were trying to get it to roll out. Thought they had it debugged, and now they tried to roll it out in Columbus, Ohio. They now put a pause on the entire program because it's really causing issues. A lot of members of the Senate and House Veterans Affairs Committee have released statements just within the last couple of days about the problems that the system is having haven't been fixed. There's a potential of it damaging some of the healthcare records that are in there. So they're putting a pause on everything till they try to figure out what's wrong. Now, this doesn't bode well for the potential $16 billion contract for Cerner. So I'm not really sure what's happening, except I know they're having a lot of problems implementing it. There's a lot of issues within the VA system, but we're hearing Cerner say it's VA's fault for not having a better IT infrastructure. And I'm sure that's not far from the truth as being a problem. But I also think it's on Cerner, because if you've already had 2 locations where this is having serious issues and you got a $16 billion contract, I would assume that it would be in better shape than it currently is. So that's an ongoing issue. Keep your ears open for the Air Commission. I don't know if anybody has been reading in the paper lately that VA is closing all these medical centers and clinics. That's not true. They're not closing anything yet. As a part of the Mission Act, they had a part of this, which is called the Air Commission, which is something an infrastructure review. I forgot what. Oh, asset and infrastructure review, or Air Commission. What they did is they went around to get market assessments of every VA hospital and every VA clinic in the nation, and get those market assessments and determine where do they need the most resources and where do they not need the most resources. This was not designed to just start closing VA medical centers. We have a problem with their market assessments. Somebody asked me why.
Why, Shane?
Because they did the market assessments during COVID. How widely used were the VA medical centers during COVID? Exactly. So we have an issue with some of the market assessments, but they just released a report on the recommendations from VA based on those market assessments. And we haven't dug through it completely yet. It's about a several 100,000-page report, because it does include market assessments from every location of the VA in the country. We've started going through it. Now, the net change is, according to basic raw numbers, 3 medical centers. So it looks like they're recommending 3 medical centers to close, or that we're losing 3 medical centers. But if you read through the rest of it, it shows there might be 17 new ones built and some other ones. It's going to take a while for us to get through it. But again, these are recommendations. No VA medical center or clinic is closing in the next 30, 60, 90, whatever days, because the commission has to debate all of this. And the commission will start getting in full swing over the next few months. We're looking at least a year before the commission is done. And then the commission will then make their recommendations on how to move forward. So no VA clinics, CBOCs, or medical centers are going to be closed within the next year. They have to wait for everything to be done at that time. So we're getting tons of emails and phone calls about this issue too. A lot of the veterans and even congressmen are saying, well, they're shutting down all of those clinics in my district. No, they're not. It's just a recommendation based on market assessments, but they have to continue to view the rest of the program, make debate and discussion amongst the Air Commission members who are presidential appointed and Senate confirmed. So this is going to be a long process. They haven't even Senate confirmed all of the commissioners yet. So we got a ways off. I just want to make everybody understand that nothing is imminent about closings of facilities. On March 16th, there was a hearing in the House Veterans Affairs Committee on Health. DAV testified at that hearing. Associate Legislative Director Tony Lewis, newest member of our crew, and he focused on long-term health care, which is one of DAV's critical policy goals. There are 2 pieces of legislation that he talked about. For those of you who don't know, between now and 2039, there's going to be a 600% increase in the number of veterans eligible for long-term health care. That means you're 70% or over the age of 85. 600% increase by 2039. So both of these pieces of legislation Tony testified on are going to go a long ways to help remedy that, put things in place now and resources so that when some people in this room reach that age, which looking around, a few of you don't have that long to wait.
You will pay for
that. And I was looking at you, Anna, just to be clear. So that is a big issue. It's one of DAV's critical policy goals for the year. I'll include a link to the hearing and the after action. Tony did a great job on that hearing. The next one, we testified also this last Wednesday on the 16th at the House Veterans Affairs Committee Subcommittee on Economic Opportunity. Mr. Ware, you might be interested in that committee. They talk about employment and education and homelessness. We testified on that in reference to VR&E. Everybody familiar with Voc Rehab VA program? Many of us have gone through it at some point. I testified on a proposed piece of legislation that will open up the self-employment track inside of VR&E. Right now, there are only 162 veterans in the nation in the self-employment track and 78,000 veterans in the long-term employment track. There's a little bit of a difference there. So they have proposed legislation that'll open up the self-employment track to give certain eligible veterans a chance to use the services to become self-employed instead of long-term education for employment. There was also 2 homeless bills on there. One would require some of the funds already allocated for grants and per diems to be used on direct expenses for homeless veterans, such as clothing, food, water, transportation services, and technological devices such as phones and other things that, and even iPads in some instances, to make sure they have access at least to telemedicine or telehealth within VA, because some veterans that are homeless or at risk are not located near VA medical centers to make it directly into their appointments. And we also looked at opening up the entire HUD-VASH process. That'll give VA a little bit more flexibility in granting and giving HUD-VASH vouchers to keep veterans in homes or get them in homes. Right now, they tend to have several left over by the end of each fiscal year. So they're looking to open that up, and we testified on that issue as well. Yes, sir.
With that, one of the problems still working with the Department of Homeless Committee is that there are certain areas like Richmond, for example, it is nearly impossible to find housing where the HUD-VASH voucher is even going to cover at least 2/3 of that. Was there any discussion about increasing either the amount that they can award or?
Not at the hearing, no. It was specific to those pieces of legislation. But no, I'm with you. One of the other issues that was talked about, and I failed to mention this at Tony's hearing. Anybody familiar with the HISA grant? HISA is a home improvement and structural adaptation grant.
It's different from the special adapted housing, special home adaptation.
Right.
It is direct through prosthetics.
Right. HISA is through the VA medical centers, prosthetics. And if it's for a service-connected condition, it pays a certain amount of dollars. If it's a non-service connected condition, it'll pay a certain amount of dollars. And it can be prescribed essentially by your physician at VA. And it'll help mostly if you need very basic things like a ramp on the front of your home, or you need your bathroom modified to make it handicap accessible, or your shower for your use.
Grab bars, that kind of stuff.
Problem is those grant amounts have not increased since 2009. And right now they're estimating that the grants they're giving, which I believe is $2,500 and $5,000 currently.
25 for non-service, 5,000 for service connected.
Those aren't covering the basic costs due to inflation.
6,800. It's 6,800 for HISA. I just received one.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
It did increase at that one time.
In 2009.
Okay, because I was still going by the old.
The bill that we're looking at that we testified earlier this week will increase both of those amounts. DAV supports it. I believe it's HR 5819, if anybody is interested in that bill number.
Have they, in this bill, did they bring up something about tying it into the cost of living index? Rolodex for that, or is it just a one-time good?
You're going to make me really think through this last week and be that specific. I can't answer that, Erwin.
Okay.
I don't believe so, but it could be. It's been a long week. I'm not sure. I'd have to look. So we can go ahead and move on. Thank you for indulging me in all of the additional information, Comrade Commander, comrades.
Okay, so unfinished business. I want to take this opportunity and see if our state senior vice commander would like to make any comments while I sit here.
Will.
That's enough, sit down.
Ladies and gentlemen, Will King.
Thank you. Shane, your check will be in the mail for that. Appreciate it. I want to always start, I much appreciate Chapter 10 for everything you folks do. Your department representation between Shane, Tom, and Tanya has been very great. I had a chance to speak to Shane on a few things. This last week, I did a presentation at a alumnus group I'm part of called Leadership Folk Here. It's a county leadership program. And I took the legislative issues that are facing our veterans, and I specifically talked about the Honoring Our Pact Act, and I read that to everybody. And then I explained how, a lot of politicians are great about taking pictures with veterans and how they love this to put on their Facebook page and send all these emails out, how they love to support veterans, but when it comes time to vote on doing measures for us, they kind of tend to disappear a little bit. So I was taking some of the stats that was given at our midwinter and also at our spring conference, and I put that out there. And the surprise on people's faces, because they don't hear about that type of thing, was kind of an eye-opening for them. So I just want to thank you guys for that information, because I was able to convey that to some local folks that are part of county and state leadership in the county itself of Virginia. But just a few things. As we had our conferences this in spring, we had a lot of training seminars that came out on Thursday. They were very good. They're posted on the Virginia DAV website for everybody to review. As your treasurers and your whatnot, I would recommend you go and look at the finance PowerPoint, and don't mind that Shane's dropping food all over the place.
So much for stealth.
Yeah. What we learned, I think Tanya will be able to tell you, is that there were a lot of questions on finance that honestly you would think are pretty either common sense or well known, but we're still having chapters commit a lot of the same issues. Double signatures on checks, people paying for meals at Golden Corrals for the chapters that meet there. These are some things that are still going on. And then if you didn't know, we officially closed Chapter 41 for improprieties that I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about. That chapter was doing things with emergency relief and other programs, and even in their own way wrote their constitution and bylaws to adapt that they can find ways to hide it. So there's a lot of stuff that we've had to do. We've got a couple other chapters that are coming out of trusteeship that we're concerned might go back into it. So you can understand why when I come here to talk to you folks, I'm very happy to know that you're running well and there's no issues here. Also, as Tanya said, the convention is going to be from the 16th to the 19th. We are looking to have line officer training for commander, adjutant, and treasurer. So if anybody's interested in your chapter running for line officers, we plan on having training at the department. If there is more people than your constitution and bylaws allow to attend that would like to go, there is the chapter assistance program where you can request department to assist and pay for that. With that, the mileage for the department, it was voted on and approved to increase to 50 cents for reimbursement for travel mileage for all members of the department. So your chapter could look at doing that as well if you're depending on how you pay now. Let's see. One piece of communication, I may have gone to Tom. I'm not sure if he had a chance to tell you. We have a person, her name is Cynthia Madison. She's out of Chapter 27 in Portsmouth. She's running for national higher office. She has sent a letter to all the chapters requesting a letter of support, not only to department, but to national on your chapter's behalf. So when you do get that, if you would take a look, I'd appreciate it. Let's see, women veterans. One of the things is we got a new women veterans chair. And what I emphasized to her is we do a lot of great job with messaging in the month of March, but we have to do more than that. And what we have to look at is tackling more legislative issues to support women veterans all the time. So she is looking into doing that more. I asked her to speak to Shane and to Tom and whoever else for that assistance, because we got to do better for our women veterans. And let's see. Last but not least, fundraising. Our current first junior vice commander, Dave Rayborn, is going to step away. His health issues from cancer has prompted him to just kind of decide he's not going to continue running for line officer. More than likely what's going to happen, depending how the nominations and elections go, I will be jumped up to senior vice commander, which means I'll be coordinating Golden Corral. The other thing is that I want to emphasize that chapters can't rely on Golden Corral like they used to. The other issue is that some chapters have no idea how to raise money if Golden Corral doesn't exist for them. We talked before, I think, about Buy Better Beer, how your chapter started that, and maybe doing something last year, if not going into this year. I have some breweries out in Loudoun County I can get access to. That is technically your territory. So whoever is in charge of your fundraising, I will be contacting them to see if we can't do joint fundraisers to kind of get that moving together. You folks have a lot of stuff out your way. So if we can work together on it, it's a mutual beneficiary type thing, like a 50-50 split on whatever money's earned. It would just take 1 or 2 members from your chapter to come meet me and my reps, and we can build on it that way. Fundraising is great, but the big thing is, again, go back to the finances. You got to remember, if you raise money, you got to spend money within a reasonable time within the calendar year. So some chapters feel that it's their money, they get to bank it. You can't bank the money that's intended for service. You have to spend it. So the ER committees and the homeless committees and whatnot, the homeless committee, we're trying to move away from necessarily spending money to allocating resources. Okay, that's a wiser way to look at it. And one of the examples I use is that a veteran may come to your door one day and say, hey, I've been living in my car for 6 months. Can you put me in a hotel? So your chapter votes to put that person in a hotel for 3 days. Well, what happens on the 3rd and half day when at noon when it's time to check out? They're right back in their car again. And they're right back in that homeless position again. They didn't resolve the problem. So what we want to do is, if we're going to spend money, is we want to spend money when we know that veteran has a place to go. Like the HUD-VASH voucher is approved, and they're 6 weeks out, because right now the turnaround time is around 6 weeks to move into a facility. What we've been doing is working with Family Services, Virginia Veterans Department of Family Services, to help find money to put them in a hotel. If we can, we supplement that, or we look at household goods. Homeless vets typically don't have a lot. You walk into an apartment building that's empty, there's nothing there for them other than what they bring with them. So we look at household goods, plates, utensils, furniture. We'll go buy mattresses for them, things like that, so we can help that veteran acclimate to moving into that new place. And then what we're working on really more is facilitating our service commission, getting gentlemen like Sean, our employment chair, to start working with that veteran, get them in touch with the VEC to help them get a job. All right. And then if it's a women veteran, we're putting them in touch with our Women and Veterans Committee, let them know there's support there. The other part we're looking at is now our incarcerated veterans program. We have a new chair for that at department. His name is Jeff Ogilvie. He's done this in the past, and he's really working hard to get that program back up and running. What I told Jeff is that his committee relies on everybody else. He's got to be a CSO to go in there and do the work. But when that veteran gets out of jail, the goal is to get that person not to go back. So we have to use all the committees again, ER, homeless, employment, all of that to get them to work with them. So that's something we're trying to do. The last part of this is we have department chairs, we have department committee members, and there is a lack of communication somewhere. I'm not sure how or where it went wrong, but I'm finding that there's not communication between department and the local chapters. I'm asking all the chairs that I can get a hold of to start sending at least a representative to communicate, if not to attend meetings. Okay, it shouldn't just be the vice commanders. Sean's here because he wants to talk to you about his program. I'm hoping that more chairs or more representatives from these committees will come and speak to you, because the idea here is if he's got the same 6 people year after year after year after year after year, that mindset of just everything's the same, we'll just keep it going, that becomes the norm. We only improve if we have new people coming on with new ideas and new ways to look at things. So please kind of look at that. If your chapter would like to learn more about how to work with the department committees, please reach out to the chairs. You can find them at virginiadav.org, or you can have your folks contact me. So yes, sir.
then basically they took me to Fair Oaks. It was from Wheaton. It's close call. So now I have to go and consider it age 7, almost 7 in June, that I could die. The problem because I've made 3 trips to the VA. And I had cancer on the 12th of January. On the 13th, I had candy given to me by my wife that broke my tooth. And I couldn't even get to the VA, especially dental, to fix it. And it was supposed to go to committee. But they never even called. So the pain, breathing problem, my chances of surviving to 80 nil. So I have to question, are they changing any benefits for widows? Because I'm rated at 100.
Okay, that would probably be a better question for Shane to answer. The thing you're referring to, Clay, is the VA itself, where the DAV has its own program. Unfortunately, right now, the transportation network is not running to help veterans get to appointments, and that's because the medical centers are still working under COVID restrictions. I believe they're starting to look at coming out of that in the next few months, but right now we're still having our hands tied with it.
Well, like I said, it was disappointing, broken tooth, and no dentist. Well, there were people there. Just the fact, turns out there's more 100s than there is technicians. My scheduled appointment is in June.
Okay.
So I have to go private, plus it's about $700. My health.
I would like to have thought community care would have been able to help you with that. So I would like to have thought community care would be able to help you with that.
They were late. They never called me.
Okay. All right. I'll ask. Okay. I'll ask Shane to address the question about the 100% P&D. Is there any other questions for me? All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
I only have
Thank
one.
you, Will.
I only have one question, Will. Is it short for will you go home?
Yes.
Actually, if his last name was not, we could just get away with calling it won't.
We're all comedians. Real quick to address your question on survivors benefits. There are several pieces of legislation pending in the House and the Senate right now. But if your spouse is already 100%, or you're already 100%, and you have been for 10 consecutive years, your spouse is already eligible for DIC. There's what's called the DIC kicker that pays an additional amount if you're at least 8 years at 100%. That hasn't changed either. DAV can represent any surviving spouse with a claim. Yes, sir. DAV provides representations not just to veterans, but also their spouses, surviving spouses, and their dependents in education programs. So yes, DAV will be able to help. Absolutely. So moving along to our unfinished business, I think. All right.
This was on you. You're looking at me.
Yeah. Oh, this is on me. Okay.
I thought you were talking.
we mentioned this a little bit ago about the big box of stuff I got that's still in my car. Yeah. The DAV or the VA DAV National Disabled Veteran Winter Sports Clinic. As we noted earlier, it is happening this year. Those are the dates, 26th through the 1st. We are a gold sponsor, Chapter 10, the only chapter in Virginia. Actually, I looked online this morning. there are only 2 chapters in the nation that are gold level sponsors, us and Chapter 1 in Missouri. So we should take a lot of pride in that. Thank you all very much. And Tom is going to be attending. We've already approved reimbursement for him to be Chapter 10's representative since we are a gold sponsor. Mr. Salpini has been assisting us in finding a new location. As you know, we've been talking about this greatly in the last few years. And Gary, I know you went out to the Fairfax County Community Center, County Government Center. Gary, do you mind telling us what's going on with us moving there? Or getting a meeting there, I should say. Do it up here. Everybody needs to hear that wonderful wit of Gary Salpini.
Okay, first of all, I applied for this meeting at the government center where we had, what was that, about 3 years ago, pre-COVID, we had the main auditorium. They got a series of smaller conference rooms from small to huge, like this over there and bigger. So I put in the application, you have to do it online. And the woman that runs it, when she parks her broomstick.
I was about to say, is this the same person you had problems with?
Yeah, that was an ongoing gunfight for a while, as you can recall. Well, she rejected because everything was booked. I don't know whether it was or not. So I responded to the email and I said, here's the rest of the dates. Because apparently you have to put in the application, a 2-page thing, it's not that big a deal, but a separate application for each date. So I responded, I said, here's the rest of our dates. Is anything open? And she had chosen not to respond. So I was waiting for Tom said y'all were going to talk at the executive committee about one of the date changes. And I think what I'm going to do then is prepare the paperwork again for each individual date and take it up there, deliver it. They want it all done online, but that's a good way to duck. When you walk in, they can't duck. So I'm going to take the applications in for every monthly meeting, which is about 8 more of them this year, 7 more.
It'll be April through November.
Yeah, at any rate. And then I'll have a backup copy. And if I don't either A, get a response, or B, like the response I get, then I'm going to do what I did the last time and get my supervisor involved. And maybe this time somebody will cut the handle off the broomstick. And the other option we have, y'all just real quickly, is a lot of the libraries individual libraries scattered through the county have available spaces. Some are too small, some are probably usable. So that's another option we can consider.
Thanks, Gary. Problem that we discovered with the libraries is the libraries in Fairfax County have a rule that you can't have more than one scheduled meeting there in a row because they don't want anybody to monopolize the rooms at the libraries. So while it is a good idea, they won't let you meet there once a month. We'd have to meet there like every other month and meet somewhere else in between. Then that's.
And Arlington County would only allow you to meet 4 times in 1 year in that kind of setting. So
that's why we're looking at Fairfax County, the government center. I know it's a bit of a drive for almost all of us, but it's a new, nice, open facility. It's got Wi-Fi. It's got all the electronic stuff built in, and it would be a guaranteed room, not like we experience here when we're not sure where we're meeting when we show up. So that's why we're looking at trying to get a date. And if we get a date there and we get them approved, we can try to start meeting there. We'll have to vote on it once we get the approval for the dates, and then we could potentially start meeting there in a nicer, newer, brighter environment. And that brings us to our next comment that Gary alluded to, and that is Our next meeting is on April 16th, which is the Saturday before Easter. It has been suggested that this might interfere with a lot of holiday travel plans that people may have. So I would like to open up the discussion on considering a change to either April 9th or April 23rd. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. All right.
So there was just a discussion. It's kind of an important month for the chapter as well. It being chapter line officer elections. And so getting participation, especially as it coming out of COVID, we want to make sure that as many people can show up as possible. This is the biggest crowd we've had since COVID, I think, and it's great to see everybody in person. And so the thought of that holiday weekend possibly interfering with participation, particularly for elections, was of concern. So we wanted to kind of bring it to the membership to see if there was interest in moving off the holiday weekend and into the following week or the previous week, or keep it the same. So I want to entertain discussions in the crowd.
That's 9.
You prefer the 9th to move it up a week?
That's 9. That's 10. That's 9.
Okay. Is that what that means,
I
sir?
got a motion for
April
April 9.
the 9th.
Immediate past seconds.
Any other discussion?
Call the question.
Any other discussion? Okay. So I guess there is now a
All those in favor?
motion on the floor to move the April 16th meeting up 1 week to April 9th. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Motion passes. We move up to the 9th.
And,
I had to
and,
vote against myself, sorry.
and Mr. Salpini, if you can then put in the request for the Fairfax Government Center for the 9th.
I will endeavor to get the paperwork there this week.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
As a reminder, the nominating committee was appointed by Comrade Commander Wendell last month. It is Jeremy Yost, Jim Anders, not Jim Landers. I don't know who that guy is. And myself. So we're going to be and have been speaking with those that are interested in a elected position in Chapter 10. Those elected positions are commander, senior vice commander, first junior vice commander, second junior vice commander, DEC, alternate DEC, treasurer, and chaplain.
And immediate pass.
No. So if you are interested in any of those positions, you need to seek out the nominating committee, which is Jeremy Yost, who's not with us today. He's our assistant adjutant, Jim Anders right there, or myself, as we will be giving our report at the April 9th meeting and having our election for the upcoming year. Well, we don't need to worry about an update on spring conference. That's been, all right.
Actually, I had a couple of things I wanted to add. Hold on. I mean, no. So I just want to make reference, Commander King made comments on kind of some of the other commissions. And in this chapter, it's not ones we have focused on, but I do think if there's anybody that's interested in it, particularly in the homeless veterans or the incarcerated veterans system, I think that there's still a lot of interest in gaining support throughout the rest on the state committee. So if there's something that, if that is a topic that interests you, they're doing some really good work. It's actually really kind of inspiring and impressive. And so that if that is an interest of yours, we can work to get you in contact with those committee members, and we can actually end up creating a chapter committee, or even just getting you involved in their efforts. So, and I think that's the best part of getting to some of the state conferences and conventions, and anybody can attend those, is you kind of get a better sense of what's really the hard work that's being done on the ground throughout the state, and the good stuff that is happening out there that you may want to get involved. Obviously, with the national service officers and multiple people in legislative teams and so forth, our chapter that's kind of our heavy focus. But DAV does a lot of different service items, and so if that is an interest of yours, then we can get you contacted. So that's what I wanted to say. Okay.
It's resolution season again. We talked about this last month. The chapter resolution committee is the chapter executive committee. All resolutions must be reviewed and approved by the chapter before they can go to the department. we need to have all of those voted on and or approved prior to June. So essentially, our May meeting is the last chance. So if you have any ideas on resolutions, the entire DAV resolution book, which is our legislative agenda, is online at dav.org. There's over 250 resolutions in there. If there's a resolution in there you like and you want to make sure we resubmit for this year, feel free to make a new copy or version of that resolution. Or if you have an idea on a new resolution, such as a resolution for DAV to support entrepreneurship programs for disabled veterans, or to support employer incentives for hiring disabled veterans. You like that tie in there, Sean? I like that. You're welcome. So if you have any thoughts about resolutions, make sure you talk to the resolutions committee, who is the chapter executive committee, because we will be writing and considering those over the course of the next 2 meetings.
Okay. So we're still continuing our every other week.
Yep.
Commander check-in and chats at 7 p.m. Admittedly, I haven't attended one in a while, so I'll let some of the other people. I know Jim Anders is famous for his
I don't think Jim's
participation.
missed maybe more than 2 in the last 2 years.
So, yeah. So Jim's the superstar of these, but they sound like they're still a really good time, and it's a great time for fellowship. Obviously, we keep away from any chapter business, politics, etc. But it's a way for the us as a chapter to get to know each other and so forth. And so they're still highly encouraged to be continued and enjoyed. And if you guys have any questions,
you need to tune in and connect with your fellow chapter members when you don't get to see them or you can't get out much. Plus, you get to enjoy riveting conversations like the 60 minutes we spent not too long ago on sandwiches. That was entertaining. Right, Jim?
I liked the bourbon conversation better, but yes.
Oh, you're
Leave it to it now.
all right. Officer training and orientation. The last class we had was in October. We're still retooling and putting that together and hoping to have something ready to put out again for April. And now on to new business, Comrade
Yes.
Senior Vice
New business,
Commander.
please. Okay, so we have reached out but not heard back yet, but we are going to continue our cleaning of the American Veterans Disabled for Life Memorial. Like I say, because I always want to say it in the wrong order. Usually it starts in April, so we won't have a meeting prior to, well, actually we may now at this point, but we'll find out what the dates are. It's getting more popular, so it was a little more sporadic last year, I believe. So we will put that information out in after action reports or special notices once we have the dates. But it's usually every second Saturday.
It was 3 years ago was second Saturday. Last year it was a hodgepodge of whatever they had available.
Right.
So it wouldn't be a bad idea, Senior Vice Commander, if you wanted to entertain a vote or a motion on us recommitting and reconfirming to volunteering at the memorial for this upcoming year.
I didn't realize that was a vote requirement. Okay. So I can make that motion, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I would like to make a motion that we continue as a chapter commit to continuing our volunteer commitment to the Park Service to clean the American Veteran Disabled for Life Memorial on a monthly basis throughout the end of the year between April and October. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
I followed up with the park ranger James Pierce this morning, just to see if they had gotten around to getting the dates ready for the upcoming year. He's hoping to have that out in the next few weeks, but I don't think it's going to be every second Saturday like it was for a while. I think it's going to be like it was last year. They just say, we have these dates on these months available. So it makes it a little more difficult when it's not consistent, but it went 2 years without being cleaned. And for those of you who cleaned last May, you'll remember how nasty the memorial was when we cleaned it. So thank you very much. Recently at the executive meeting, we talked about a variety of things moving forward. Now that COVID isn't as severe of a problem as it had been for the last 2 years. Things are opening up a lot more. So we're looking at ways to get back to where we were. Because if you recall, before the pandemic, we had lots of meetings where we had 50 or 60 members here in attendance at our meetings. So we're looking at trying to find ways to get us back to that point. We're not going to get back to that point overnight, not in 1 or 2 meetings, because it took us a couple of years to start to reach that kind of attendance. So it's a work in progress, and we need ideas. And some of the things we've talked about doing is starting in June, bringing back our guest speakers. As you know, in the past, we had speakers from the Board of Veterans Appeals. We had the Veterans Benefits Administration Undersecretary for Benefits. We had various peoples come in and give a 15, 20 minutes presentation on something specific to us and veterans. So we have a few ideas for those. I am going to see if I can't get members of either the House or Senate Veterans Affairs Committee staffers to come and talk to us about current legislation and the issues they're looking at on the Hill. I might be able to get 1 or 2 of them to come over the course of the next few years. And any ideas you have about speakers. I know Tanya and Tom talked about getting somebody from the state or the county to come and talk about state veterans issues and benefits that are available so that we all know exactly what they are. So if you have an idea for a guest speaker, please let us know. We want to start ramping those up and have them scheduled a few months in advance so that we can provide additional information that we all need as veterans. And then we also talked about...
And it doesn't just have to be an actual speaker. If you have an idea, like I would like to hear more about this topic that relates to veteran benefits or issues, et cetera, that we can come up with the right person to address that stuff. So if there's topics you want to hear about too, it doesn't need to be an actual suggested speaker.
Or women veterans issues. Shamla mentioned Ashley Burns, who's the Deputy Communications Director for DAV, who chairs Women Veterans Committee for DAV. She's actually a member of Chapter 10. I know, crazy how that works. If we would like to get her here for 15 to 30 minutes to talk about ongoing benefits, all we have to do is ask. We also talked about having a chapter picnic. For those of you who remember, we used to have those all the time, but the pandemic has really put a crimp in that. So instead of doing it early this year, we're considering of having it in September. Build up some meetings with some speakers, get some more attendance, and then do a picnic in September, like we have done in the past. Yes, Comrade Treasurer.
In the past, before COVID, you had to reserve by June or you could not get the dates you wanted.
Yes.
In fact, you couldn't even get them in October and then they close in October.
Right.
So we got to decide that one by June.
If that's the same location we want to go to. And I forget we haven't been there so long, I forgot the name of the park. Nottaway Park. North here. Yep. And that was always a good time. We'd have it catered and we would open it up to any and all members and potential members. And the hot list that we were talking about that Tanya mentioned a few minutes ago, we discussed that if we do have the picnic in September, inviting every member on the hot list through a postcard, and we would just need to at that time approve postage and invite all of the members on the hot list to our chapter picnic. And we would also like to try to find ways to develop some entertainment for kids at the picnic. Because let's be honest, a lot of us younger veterans, and when I mean younger, I don't mean me. I mean like Shamla there in the back, she still has several kids at home. So sometimes it's hard to get families involved in, veterans involved and engaged if they have a lot of family other activities. So we want to try to find ways to make sure we're including family activities at the chapter picnic. Erwin, we're thinking about getting a bounce house and putting you in charge. No.
Grandkids?
And grandkids. We'd have it open invite to any and everybody who wants to attend. We were doing this on a regular basis a few years ago, and we actually got several members became active because of those events. So we really want to get back into doing those. And if you have any ideas, that would be awesome. Also, I want to throw out the idea of when we want to engage more veterans and families, we kind of get in a rut of doing what we've been doing, and we're really not having the holiday picnic, or excuse me, the holiday banquet anymore, because we're doing some other things and fundraising. What we did this last year, we did a lot during the holidays for veterans, families in need in this area. So if we decide not to do that, I'm just going to throw this out there. Why can't we do something like on a Saturday or a Sunday afternoon for Halloween and do it here? Have different booths and tables set up. We can invite our members, their kids, families, have a costume contest. We can bob for apples, except some of us might drown because we'd be in there too long trying to get an apple. So we need a lifeguard available. Anybody here know CPR? All right. Cattle prod. That works well with water. So those are the types of ideas we should really be thinking about. How can we engage everybody in the community? A few years ago, if you remember, we tried a program to where we were doing meetups out in the real world. I did an event at a bowling alley. We did a cigar night. We did a coffee with our previous commander, trying to get people out in the real world outside of chapter meetings. We did about 6 of them, and we haven't done them again. Why? Because I was the only person who attended every single one of those events. We don't need to recruit Shane. I'm already on board. So those are good ideas, and I think we need to stick with those types of things, especially now since things are loosening up, people are a little bit more comfortable. We need to find a way to engage, because not everybody wants to come to a chapter meeting, but cleaning at the memorial has been big for us for engaging people and getting involved. The drive we did for donations for homeless veterans this last year for the Homeless Veterans Stand Down was huge. We engaged so many of our members online. We're just trying to find another way to engage everybody in real life places. So if you have any ideas, share them with us. Yes, Will.
If you do buy a bit of beer, this is what we do. Is that we had several locations. We started somewhere around the beginning of October, middle of October. Within 2 weeks, we organized the chapter to go out and just be good customers, and we invite everybody. So like one restaurant was called Grill 309. I invited everybody from the chapter to come out to this little town, this little restaurant called Pepper that was doing for us. We had like 20 people show up, and we just reserved a whole bunch of tables. Not only are you supporting the business that's supporting you, it's also a chapter day out to go out and just do something like that. So that's kind of the timing you try to use.
Right, because we really need to find a way to engage people, because veterans still with children at home, it's hard to always engage them in meetings. So just any ideas you have on how we can engage people out there, that's a legal activity, Gary. I see you thinking back there. Legal activities. Just want to make sure I'm clear.
So yeah, I mean, the point of this is we're hoping to start a dialogue. And so if I were to turn it over to y'all, it might be putting you on a spot, but feel comfortable to raise your hand and say, hey, I'm interested in these ideas, or bring it to us individually. But I think we should be really proud as a chapter of how we've engaged online meetings and so forth and maintained our connection throughout COVID and stuff. But that has become, with anything that is still one-dimensional. And I think building excitement about service and stuff really comes from the fellowship. And so we really want this to be a two-way community, not us sitting up here talking to the screen anymore, or to, now we've got bodies, but hopefully to be a multi-way communication. So that's the goal. Okay, so I think it's got mentioned a couple times, the DAV's Department Convention, which is where the election of officers for the department line will be conducted, but as well as the different committee meetings and so forth. So it's a lot like the spring conference, but with some extra stuff. But it's a good opportunity to learn more about what's going on in the state and get involved that way if you're interested. It's going to be in Roanoke at Tanglewood Hilton. And if you're interested in being a delegate and attending, then let someone on the line know. And it'd also be an opportunity to get chapter service officer training. And the national guest for that convention, DAV Department Virginia convention, is going to be DAV's National Legislative Director, Joy Elam, who's also a member of Chapter 10. I don't know how that keeps happening. She's going to be the national guest. So if you want to go down to Roanoke to make sure you meet her, even though she lives here locally, we encourage you to do so.
Also attending with her is our Associate Legislative Director, Tony Lewis. He'll be attending as well. And as luck would have it, he's a member of Chapter 10. I don't know if anybody's noticing a theme here. Go to the order.
Do this one first, or do I do the good order first?
You can do this and go to the order.
Or can I do that and then do that?
Any way you want.
Okay, well, I'm gonna do that. Okay. We're debating script wasn't matching his slides. Okay, so I'm gonna open up to the room for any good of the order. Does anybody else have anything that they want to bring up, question, etc.? Sir.
Somewhat quick, I have type 2 diabetes, and apparently a recent change with Medicare is that Medicare will now cover your continuous glucose monitors. I was shelling out $65 a month for those monitors. It just happened the last couple of months or so. My doc submitted the form for me, and I took my first delivery last week.
That's Medicare, but not the VA, correct?
Yes, sir. I bring it up because I'm obviously a lot of our folks may be in a similar situation.
Thank you.
John
Anybody?
Hoffman.
Reverend Hoffman, please go ahead.
Yeah, regarding that HISA grant, just let you know that I did apply and receive one. It's $6,800. You get $3,400 at the initial start of your project, $3,400 when it's completed. It's an easy process to apply for. You have to have a detailed list of items you want done, and the VA tells you what they'll approve, and you get up to $6,800 tax-free. I had my 1967 master bedroom bathroom gutted out and replaced with a zero-entry shower, and I had a rail installed outside my house for getting upstairs. And it was a great program. I encourage people to take advantage of it. It's there for our use.
Thank you, John.
Right. Yeah, the 6,800 is very, very low compared to the cost of the work to be done.
Absolutely. That's why there is legislation to increase those HISA grants. And again, if you're interested, you can apply for those through the prosthetics or your primary care physician at the VA. It's a VA hospital program, not a benefits program.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Hoffman. Anybody else online? Anybody else in the room? Okay. Okay, so at this time, we're going to move on to our memorial piece. So we would like to have 1 minute of silence devoted in honor of our departed comrades. If everybody would stand, please. Oops, I'm not supposed to wrap, sorry. And were we supposed to salute? Sorry. Okay. All right. This point.
Comrades, will you please stand at attention? By the numbers and salute. May they rest in peace. 2.
My bad. Okay. So that concludes our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Do I have a second?
No need for a second on the motion to adjourn.
Sorry.
It's always in order and never requiring a second.
Thank you. All right. Reverend Hoffman, will you close us out in prayer, please?
Certainly. Please join me in prayer. May the peace of God, which passes all understanding, keep our hearts and our minds in the knowledge and the love of God. And now unto the eternal and all-wise Creator be the honor, the glory, both now and forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. Comrades, the purpose of our gathering here has been accomplished. Before we close, let us be mindful of the principles for which this organization stands: comradeship, friendship, loyalty to principle and to our comrades, and devotion to our cause. Before I declare you adjourned, it is fitting and proper that we again render honor to the flag of our country. Sorry, we're doing this again, that's okay. Comrades, before us is the flag of our country. Let us always be true to its ideals and worthy of its exalted traditions. Attention, by the number stand salute. 2. I now declare this meeting of the DAV Arlington-Fairfax Chapter 10 adjourned. Our next meeting will be held on April 9th. Thank you all for coming.
Yay! Shane's not here.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody
Thanks,
online
everybody
for
online.
joining us.
Feel free to talk amongst yourselves.
Have a great one.